Dressed a little differently today. I'm actually heading out to see a show in a little bit, and I thought I'd turn on the camera and do my chat and talk a little bit about what happened this week, but kind of a more broad topic about what motivates me. So let's get into it. So hello and welcome again. I am, as mentioned, going to be talking pretty briefly about the week that was. Not too much to report in broad strokes. The biggest thing by far is the status of my calendar, which I should have on the screen right now, is much more robust than it was even a week or two ago. And so I've got a lot of things that are cooking that are probable in February, and right now it's looking much more like I want it to look, at least for the next couple weeks, including a really interesting gig in February. I think it's 15th, which is the day after Valentine's Day, where I'll be playing with a few friends in a band we're calling Rhythmic Tavern as a one-off thing, playing a lot of love songs. You might be unsurprised to learn that in mid-February, that's what people are going to want to hear. Yeah, that's it's taken a lot of grinding. I had a video a couple weeks ago where I talked about how I am organizing myself, and I'm starting to kind of see some of that bear fruit. So, very happy to see that coming together. Much more work to do, but it's actually beginning to get a little bit of momentum and a little bit of a life, which is great. I did have one gig this week, kind of dead, honestly. There weren't a lot of people there. I did see some friends there, some local business owners who kind of came in and say hello. But sometimes the crowd's just not very lively, and that's just the way it worked out. Kind of quiet Wednesday night. So, that happens sometimes, and that's just kind of part of the ups and downs. I wasn't really too concerned about that, as I really am trying to kind of prepare myself for things coming up in February. And it was nice to get out and see people and play at least a little bit in person and meet folks. And the other kind of interesting thing going on right now is I actually reached out to School of Rock, which is a music school. I think they're based in a lot of places, but I reached out to the one in Palo Alto, and specifically, they're looking for guitar teachers. And they're very flexible at what hours you can kind of do that work, which is great for me right now. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, it's likely I will be starting to teach kids and adults music based on a rock and roll curriculum, which is kind of cool. And it's a skill I want to cultivate. If you saw the video I did on the RC600 configuration, I like that kind of presentation, teaching, informational kind of thing. So obviously teaching is a pretty natural next step, and I'm excited to kind of dive into that and see what I can make work from that. So that's kind of mostly what's been going on. And this week, I want to do something that's maybe a little bit more vulnerable, but it's a topic that I kind of think about a lot because, there's a lot of ups and downs. As I mentioned, I had kind of a down gig this week. And it's about motivation, like what motivates you. And I wanted to kind of start with my kind of just a little bit of history on my musical journey and how I relate to that in terms of motivation. Now, I was an adult student of music. I actually picked up the guitar 15 years ago, and I started singing just shy of 10 years ago. So pretty not that long ago in the grand scheme. And that means I was, let's say, mid-30s as I was learning the guitar. And typically that's a hard thing to do when you're working full-time and then you're picking up an instrument. Now, I didn't have kids, which is a pretty major plus in terms of having the focus time to do something like that, but I really wanted to learn. And it was actually the game Guitar Hero that got me interested in seeing if, rather than getting specifically focused good on the video game, I wanted to see if there's anything transferable about learning how to play on a plastic guitar versus learning how to play on an actual guitar. Now, my wife at the time was, I'll say, dubious, and I don't want to paint her in a bad light here. I actually am very grateful to her, as I'll talk about. But one of the things that she said kind of early on, a little tongue-in-cheek, was, well, if you're going to have a midlife crisis, you could just have a mistress instead. Again, very tongue-in-cheek. That was kind of the way our banter was. But there was a couple of truths in that. The odds of sticking with an instrument when you're an adult aren't that high. And, it's an expensive dalliance if you're looking to get into a hobby and you're trying to do something like that and make it stick. It is an expense. So I kind of having that in mind, and talked to her a bit more about it, obviously, and decided to buy the guitar. And I bought the guitar, and then I went next door and got lessons. Might have been the other order, but it was the same day. So I was taking guitar lessons for my first week owning the instrument, which was ended up being really important, I think, for me to just create some accountability around that. But every morning, this is true for probably the first 3 years, I played guitar. I would wake up in the morning, and for about an hour, I would practice. And I would learn things, and I'd play and jam or what have you. And the mantra in my head, the thing that motivated me was, I'll show you. And it was loosely related to the thing my wife had told me. It was really more about an internal reason to fight through the natural difficulty of learning something hard at an early point and creating a habit. If you can create a habit, it's very powerful. So I was able to create a habit of playing a guitar. I would even go when we went on vacation and rent a guitar from a local shop and practice my hour a day, even on vacation, which annoyed her a little bit perhaps, but that's who I am. Now, that's one for motivation, this kind of idea of doubt. And this has been kind of it comes up here and there. If you're going to try to make music work full time, there's a ton of people are going to look at you like you're crazy, especially in the Bay Area, California, which is pretty expensive, generally speaking. But another motivator for me was this idea of not letting people down. And so at a very early point, about a year and a half into playing the guitar, I met a couple friends. We played music together a little bit, and we decided to form a band. And we were amateurs, but we had some fun. And it was very important to me that I not, like if I was doing lead guitar, so I was doing, pretty easy, but guitar solos. I wanted to make sure that I was not letting my bandmates down. So I practiced more to be able to play in front of people, the songs that we did. And, this also, not letting people down, extended to my guitar teacher, who, luckily for me, was someone who was very good about creating kind of lessons or homework, if you will, at 2 levels. It's like, here, we're going to learn this song or learn this intro or learn this solo. And if you really if you have the time or you're able to get that, if you really want to go extra with it, do this too. Or, here's the chords to the verse, but here's the riff that goes in the middle of it. Or there's a solo piece, or, learn this additional mode. Or, if you're doing thing in the boxes of the pentatonic scale, like, okay, do the first position and the second position. There's always some kind of like extra credit, if you will. And I tried to create kind of a habit of hitting that extra credit. Again, I was very motivated to learn, and I knew I was already working uphill. So that's how I approached learning the instrument. And, at various other gigs, like, it was pretty common for me at various points in my life, maybe not common, but there have been several major instances where I've signed up for something that was way above my current skill level. It was 7 weeks prior to the Fog Festival in Pacifica. A Ozzy Osbourne tribute act was looking for a singer, and my voice teacher knew the guitarist in the band. So I auditioned and I got the part. And, I didn't know a lot of Ozzy Osbourne, like Randy Rhoads era material, but I was motivated to learn. And, it created an interesting kind of tension with how much can I learn, how quickly. And so I was listening to this stuff constantly. I was, my whole walk to work was just listening to the same playlists over and over and over and over again, learning by osmosis, because I didn't want to let the band down. So we fast forward to something much more like today, and you have me talking to people that I was going to try to do music full time. And a lot of people with, genuine concern, not necessarily dismissal, but concern, would say, how are you going to make that work? Or how does that work financially? And the short answer is I still have not answered that question. But the gentle doubt, the well-earned doubt perhaps, is one of the things that motivates me. That kind of like, can I show them? And again, they're not antagonistic to me in this. Going back to my ex-wife, she was there filming us at our first open mics. It wasn't about the antagonism or creating a villain. It was about giving a bit of color to an internal voice telling me, yeah, you can't do that, so I could have something to pit myself against, because that's how I motivate myself. Finally, and as a kind of more modern example, this week I also reached out to Sweetwater, the music gear company, because I was interested in doing their affiliate program. And I reached out, I got my sales associate there, was kind enough to send me a link to their affiliate login or their sign up page, and I saw from just what they're asking, I'm like, yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance. I'm too small a channel. As I record this right now, I have 164 subscribers. Yeah, I don't think I'm big enough to do this. And so, but I filled it out and I said, hey, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to, do different kinds of tutorials where I'm highlighting the gear that I use so that people might be motivated to, get some of the things that I use and steal ideas. And, there's some mutually beneficial thing there. That's the whole affiliate program thing. But to their credit, almost immediately, the next day I got a personalized email from someone saying, hey, really love what you're doing, really cool video, as I give them the video on the RC600 configuration. But we typically work with people who already have an audience. Usually, you could try reaching back out again when you have closer to 5,000 subscribers. Kind of a bummer, right? Not unexpected, but kind of a bummer. And I thought, all right, I have my motivation. So in short, you're probably going to see more of that kind of content, the instructional content on the channel, because it's something I love to do. As I mentioned, I'm learning to teach, and I think it's kind of a cool thing to do with this channel. I, again, have learned a ton from other people doing instructional content on YouTube, and I would love to add to that. So that all being said, yeah, I can be kind of upset about it. I mean, it's a bummer to hear no, but I think it's probably, in my case, and when I'm able to kind of look at it dispassionately and say, all right, it makes sense. But you haven't heard the last of me, because I'm going to show you. Because I've beaten long odds to be here in front of this camera, talking to people about a musical journey that by all rights shouldn't exist. So what's one more? Anyway, that's what I got for you this week. It's more of a detour. There's a tip in there somewhere. Find what motivates you. It doesn't have to be about music, and you don't have to have a villain, even if you want to if you're the sort of person who's driven by competition, as I am, you don't necessarily have to have a villain to compete against. You can compete against a fake inner voice. You can compete against, your goals not coming true, whatever it may be. That's what works for me. Or, do it cooperatively and try to support other people, and you can stretch really far when you're trying to help others. And at least that works for me. So with that, I'm going to turn off the camera today. I'm going to have a lot of stuff to talk about probably over the next couple videos, because I've got new venues and this kind of new project that's it's a one-off project, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, doing this Rhythmic Tavern. So maybe there'll be some videos from that. We'll do something in rehearsal we can share. But I hope you folks have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and I will see you a week from today. You take care.